Welcome everybody, thank you for joining us. I'm Laura Jones, and in this session we're going to be speaking with elite ultra runner Hayden Hawks. Hayden had a super successful 2019, just a few of the highlights being wins with course records at Artenara Trail 30k, Trail Tsaigu 80k, Artenara 52k, Tushars Marathon and CC Thunderbird 25k. Also at the World Mountain Running Championships, his sixth place finish helped Team USA to podium in second place. A couple of career highlights for Hayden include wins at the 2017 UTMB CCC 100k and 2017 Moab's Red Hot 55k. Hayden runs for Altra, Nathan, Coros, Revant and Unived. He is a coach at Hawks Running, is 28 years old, and he lives in Cedar City, Utah. Hayden, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Just excited to be joining you today. I'm actually in Phoenix, Arizona right now, doing a training camp, and really excited to be on the show today.
Oh, thank you very much. So maybe before we get into the detail and I start asking you sort of specific questions, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about your background and how your running journey started.
Yeah, so it all started when I was a sophomore in high school here in the United States. I grew up in St. George, Utah, which is near Zion National Park, the Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon National Park, kind of in that area. So it's an amazing place for trail running. And growing up, you know, running cross country and track and field, my coach, he would have trail days at least once or twice a week where he would let us go and run on the trails, and we'd get to pick a trail that we wanted to run, and he would be like, okay, let's go out and run and have fun as a team. So, you know, I started running, and I just kind of grew a love for the trails through that. But yeah, I competed mostly on the track and cross country as well. Was a multiple time state champion in the state of Utah, and really enjoyed running the 5K and the 10K. I kind of seen throughout my life growing up that the longer the event, the better I was at it. And the more I enjoyed it was actually doing the longer stuff. And yeah, I had a really good high school career, and then got a scholarship to run at Southern Utah University, which is actually in Cedar City where I live now. It's a high altitude school. We're at 6,000 feet elevation. And yeah, I had a great college career, was an All-American in cross country in Division I here in the States, and just really, I guess, grew a love for running through my high school career and my college career. But I always just kind of gravitated towards the trails throughout that whole entire process of running track and field and cross country.
Oh, right. And so thinking about your motivations for being an ultra runner, what was it that sort of made you push forward and get into running these, you know, these for what most people would consider to be really long distances? What was it that got you into that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I grew up, you know, we'd get on the trails for cross country, but also my dad was a pretty big outdoorsman. My dad loved to go fishing and hunting and camping, and so growing up, we spent a lot of time in the outdoors. You know, we'd be up in the mountains like all day, you know, going out, and my dad would go out and he'd take us fishing, and we'd hike from lake to lake to lake and do these big fishing trips. And it was something that we really enjoyed, me and my brother, growing up with my dad. It was time we got to spend with my dad. But it was just awesome to be in the mountains and explore these wild places, you know, where we grew up. Luckily, where we grew up is just an amazing playground for outdoor activities. Tons of mountain biking, tons of rock climbing and trail running. You know, everybody does it. And so I kind of knew growing up that I would probably get into trail running at some point. I just wasn't sure when. I thought, you know, maybe when I get older, you know, after a long road career or something, that I would get into these ultra marathons. But after college, I kind of was a little burnt out from running on the roads and on the track a lot. And so I had a friend who I just started running with for fun, and he invited me to come and run the Speed Goat 50K, which is in Utah, a pretty famous race in Utah. And at first I was like, no, I don't think so. And he was like, you know, it would be, you should come. Like, it's just a long day in the mountains. You know, it's something that you grew up doing. Like, why don't you come out and do it and we'll have a fun time? And I just was, at first I said no, but then the day before the race, I actually woke up and I was like, you know, I should go do this race. Like, this would be fun. And so I drove up, got into the race that night, woke up the next morning off of like 4 hours of sleep that night, and ended up going out and winning the Speed Goat 50K. And I just loved it. Like, I had such an amazing time in that race. And my love for trail running just kind of grew from there, and ultra running. And I was like, you know, I kept looking, is there any way I can make a career out of ultra running? I didn't even think it was possible, to be honest with you. I didn't think there was any way that I could be a professional ultra running. I didn't think it existed, but I quickly researched into it, and luckily, you know, some sponsors reached out to me, and I was like, wow, like, I can actually make this a career. And it started from there, and I've never looked back. It's just been an incredible journey, and I feel so fortunate and so lucky to be doing what I love for a living.
Yeah, that's amazing. Did you ever think for one moment when you stood on that start line that day that you might win it?
I would say, you know, I'm a very confident person, you know, sometimes a little too confident, I would say. I always believe I can win. You know, I always believe I can break the course record. And it's something that it's just been ingrained in me from being a child, is like, I'm very, very competitive. Like this last weekend, for instance, I took part in a thing called the Donut Run, which was in St. George, Utah. And it's this event where you run a 3-mile loop or a 5K loop. And every loop you have to eat as many donuts as you can. And whoever eats the most donuts over this 13-mile race, this half marathon race, wins the race. And at first I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not going to like get trapped in this, you know, I'm in the middle of training. Then I started getting into it, and I just started eating donuts and eating donuts and eating donuts. And I was like, I'm going to win this thing. And everybody was like, you're so competitive. Like, why? Like, why do you need to win a local donut race? And I'm like, I just have to. Like it's something that I just need to do. And so, yeah, I would say when I stood on that starting line, like, I believed I could win, and I wanted to win, but I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into. So when like mile 26, 27 hit of that race, I was like, whoa, like this is crazy. Like, I can't believe like I just ran this far, and I'm hurting really bad right now, but I'm just going to give it everything I got and go for the win. And luckily it all played out. So
amazing. I love that about the donut race. So, and before that day, what was the furthest you'd run?
I think we did a lot. So I grew up, like, my college program was a very high mileage program. If you've heard of Cam Levins, he's an Olympian for Canada in the marathon. He actually holds the Canadian record in the marathon. He grew up, or he ran with me in college. We ran for the same program, and Cam was famous in high school of doing like 150 to 170 mile weeks. Actually in college he was doing 150, 170 mile weeks. He won 2 national titles in college, and I grew up running with him. And so we did high mileage in college, but still, like, our longest runs were about 20 to 22 miles were probably the longest run that I had ever done before that race. So solid, but it was on the roads. And so like a 20-mile run on the roads is a lot different than a 20-mile run in the mountains. You know, it's a lot less time on the feet. And so I wasn't used to the time of Speed Goat. I mean, Speed Goat took me 5.5 hours. I'd never even come close to running 5.5 hours. You know, I'd gone for 5.5-hour hikes with my dad, like I said, but never running that far.
Yeah, that's amazing. What's been one of the biggest challenges that you faced during your journey? Something that might have changed your mindset or altered the way you approach things?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. There's been a lot of challenges and just growing pains along the way. I mean, it's ultra marathon. It's so unpredictable as is. You know, you're out there for so long, you never know what could happen. It's like living a whole life in one race is what I like to, you know, say that ultra marathon is. But yeah, I mean, my first year, it went great. Like I had some really big wins, Speed Go, you know, CCC, some other big wins that first year. But I also had some really bad races. You know, I went to Transvolcania that year and ended up blowing up and finishing like in the 70s or something. And then I ran at World Championships that year as well in Italy and ended up blowing up as well and not finishing very high. And so I had some bad races mixed in there. And the things that I had to learn, I think the biggest were even though I love racing and I really enjoy it and I want to race every single weekend if I could, I can't. You know, I need to let my body recover in between races, and I need to be focused on certain races. And if I want to be on my A game and be the best that I possibly can for every race, which I do, I need to give myself time to train properly, and I need to give myself time to recover properly, because ultra marathon is hard on the body, and you don't realize how much you beat your body up by doing back to back races. And that's kind of what I fell into at the beginning of my career, was racing too much and too frequent, you know, back to back races. And I, you know, had some bad races because of that, but I wouldn't take those away because I learned so much from those bad races.
Yeah. Also, I think compared with a lot of people I've spoken to, you're quite young really to be. A lot of people I've spoken to haven't reached the level that you've reached until they're sort of in their mid-30s. I think you're quite a bit younger than some of the other elite ultra runners that I've spoken to. And also what you've just said there about that realization that you've had about you know, kind of overtraining and not recovering. A lot of people haven't sort of had that realization until they've got into their 30s, and they're sort of, you know, realizing that they need to pay a bit more attention to their bodies and look after things a bit better. And so I think you're a bit ahead of the game.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm 28 years old, so I am a lot younger than most of the other ultra runners, and but that's a good thing because I have more time to learn these things. You know, I can learn these things in my 20s,
Yeah.
and then when I get into my 30s, which is actually your peak time, supposedly for ultra running, you know, I'll be ready because I'll have learned everything, and then I'll be able to really just focus and be able to have everything down so I can run incredibly well and do some amazing things in my 30s.
Yeah, incredible amount of potential, I would say, already. Who influences you, and whether it's, you know, is there somebody in particular that's had an impact on you or your running, or any particular books that have had an impact on you?
Oh, so many people. You know, that's the cool thing about ultra running is it's such like a family. You know, we're all like a big family, and everybody really supports one another and helps one another. You know, when I first came into the sport, I had no clue what I was doing. I had no idea about nutrition or how to fuel properly or anything, you know. And I had some people at the beginning of my career who really helped me a lot. One being Magdalena Bolle, who's actually an incredible athlete here in the U.S. She's won Western States and Leadville. And I mean, I'm sure everybody knows who she is, but she actually helped me a lot at the beginning of my career with some nutrition, and just helped me just have a big love for what I was doing and realize what I was doing. And then over the years, I mean, I've pretty much talked or associated with every elite that you can possibly think of in the sport. You know, from Killian to Courtney DeWalter to Jim Walmsley to Tom Evans, you know, all these guys I've talked to, and you know, no matter how old or young they are, they've all given me little advices that has helped me to become the runner I am. You know, I actually listen like a big, I think, I don't know, my mom would always say this was a good quality I had, is that I am a good listener. I like to listen to what the advice that people are giving to me, and I apply that into my running. And, you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but overall, as I see the things that do work, I'm able to just become a better person and a better athlete because of that. And so I would say, you know, like everybody that in this sport has really helped me, but I'd say the biggest influences were Magda. And then I'd say another big influence was Zach Miller. Actually, when I first raced North Face and took second to Zach, he really gave me a lot of advice after that race, and it helped me a ton. And yeah, it's just been an incredible experience having all these people help me, even people that aren't famous and elite athletes, you know, just, you know, the local trail runner down the road from me, you know, he's given me some advice that's helped me. And my parents, you know, my parents have given me advice that is just priceless.
Yeah. It is lovely. Everyone says that about, you know, I think the running community in general, but the ultra running community is this little pocket of it that has really got this amazing spirit. And like you say, lots of people describe it as a family. And also what I think is so lovely is the fact that, you know, you elites line up on the same start line in the same races with someone who it might be their first ultra marathon. You know, what other sport can you do that in? You know, you can't go and play football against, you know, Premiership footballers, but you know, in ultra running, you all line up on the same start line together, and I just think that there's something really special about that. I think.
I agree.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite race distance?
Ooh, that's a tough one. You know, I'd say right now probably the 50 mile or 80K distance is my favorite. It's a good middle ground. I like 50K, and I love 100K, and I actually really want to be a good 100-mile runner, and that's kind of been a big goal of mine, is to try to be a really good 100-miler. But yeah, I'd say the 80K distance is probably my favorite right now. It's a good mix of speed, and a good mix of just being able to be out there for a long period of time. Most 80Ks, you can run the entire thing, and I really love to run. I wouldn't say I love to hike. And so some of these long races like a UTMB and stuff, I love the UTMB like area and the race and the atmosphere, but the hiking of UTMB, I haven't quite got that down yet to where I love it. I'm a runner, and I like to run races, and so most of the races I try to pick now are the ones that I can run most of the race.
Because just looking back now, in 2019, you achieved an amazing number of course records in the sort of, you know, 30 to 80K races. So those sort of shorter distance ultras, obviously you really, well, blew everybody else out of the water of that, you know, this year, really. Do you think the secret of your success of those is that because it's all allowing you to run the whole distance?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta see what your strengths are, you know. And right now I'm young, you know, I'm 28 years old. I'm just coming off the track where I ran pretty fast in the 5K and 10K. I have a lot of speed underneath me, and I really enjoy still doing like speed sessions. You know, I'll go out and do a really hard workout where I'm running, you know, 4:30 mile pace or 5 flat mile pace for a long period of time. And, you know, and I enjoy that. I really enjoy just pushing myself speed wise. And so as I'm able to like do more runnable races, I'm able to use that talent that I still have right now at this age. And I'm sure that, you know, later on in life, I will really enjoy, you know, the hiking and the 100-mile stuff, maybe even 200-mile stuff. I don't know. But for now, I really like to do stuff that is runnable because it intrigues me, it inspires me, and the training that goes into it, I really enjoy. And I think that's something I learned recently is you have to do what you enjoy. And you have to do what you enjoy in training, most importantly, because if you don't enjoy the training, you're not going to enjoy the race. And so you have to like see what inspires you, what do you really truly want to do, and then go after that stuff. It might change over the course of your life, but you know, life is too short to not be doing what you really enjoy to do. And you know, at this point, I really enjoy the running stuff. You know, I tried UTMB, you know, I tried some of these hiking races, and I'm glad that I did because I learned that at this point in my life, I just don't enjoy that, but that might come down the road.
Yeah. So what are you going to be focusing on in the 2020 season?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be focusing on, I'm still going to do long stuff. You know, a lot of people have like thought like, oh, Hayden's not doing long stuff anymore. He's just going to do short stuff. But I'm actually still going to do long stuff. It's just going to be more runnable long stuff. And so I'm actually focusing, a big part of what I'm focused on this year is I kind of want to stay closer to home and race a lot in the United States. I've been in Europe the past 2 years, just running a lot in Europe and in Asia. And I've really enjoyed that. And I really love Europe. I wish I had a second home in Europe, to be honest with you. But I've also been like, I need to stay home. I want to focus on this focused training and really just run some of these races in the US, because we have so many great races here. My schedule so far is turning out to be, I'm going to run the Black Canyon 100K down here in Phoenix, Arizona. It's a Western States qualifier. And so hopefully I'll get a golden ticket there for Western States. And then I'm going to run the Lake Sonoma 50 miler in April as kind of a final race, I guess you'd say. And just because it's super competitive, I think that I could really do well on that course. And so I'll go run that race. And then Western States in June is my main focus for this year. And then after Western States, I'm going to try to double back actually and go after the Leadville course record. Because Leadville, it is a mountain race, but it's very runnable. It actually has less elevation gain than Western States does. It's just very high elevation the entire time, and which is good for me because I live at high elevation, and the type of trails I'm on are very, very similar to Leadville trails. So I'm going to do the Western Leadville double, and then I'll finish off the year with the North Face 50 mile in San Francisco, which I've taken second and third at that race. And so I want to go back and try to take first. So arguably I would say I'm doing the most competitive races from 50 miles to 100 miles in North America, and just really focusing on a North American year and trying to conquer all of the top races in North America.
That's exciting. And do you have any sort of overarching sort of long-term goals in your running, you know, things that you'd like to achieve within your career?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I have a lot of this big goals. I mean, I kind of set this goal list, I guess, of 5 key goals that I want to do in the you know, the next 10 years or whatever of my career. Hopefully longer, but the main goal right now is to win Western States. I really want to win Western States. I mean, it's been a huge goal of mine. And I want to try to break 14 hours at Western States. You know, me and Jim Walmsley, we went to Worlds together, and we actually sat on the plane coming home from Worlds. It was really weird how they actually put us right next to each other, even though we didn't even book our tickets at the same spot. But we ended up having this long conversation on the way home about how we could break 14 hours at Western States. And both of us agree it can be done. It definitely can be done. There's things that Jim said that he did during the race that he could take time off of station things, and I agreed. And so we both kind of, I guess, got together, and our two minds got together, and we started like putting through this whole scenario of what it would take to break 14 hours at Western States. And so that's been a goal of mine. I know it's a goal of Jim's. And so hopefully in the future, the near future, we can both go after that and try to break 14 hours. And then I'd say another big goal is that Leadville course record, which is also a big goal of mine. Both of those races, Leadville and Western States, have just inspired me since I started doing ultra marathon. And I knew that at some point in my career, I'd like to do both of them and like to go for the course records at both of them. North Face 50 as well. Like I said, second and third, I want to take first in that race, and it's a big goal of mine. But also just enjoy the process, you know, enjoy my local races, and have fun throughout this whole thing, you know, explore new lands and new mountain ranges, and just really enjoy this opportunity, because I feel so fortunate and so lucky to be doing this. You know, I'm here at a training camp in Phoenix, Arizona. You know, how many people can just say that? You know, like, most people have to work day in and day out, and I get to, for work, I get to train and run on amazing trails around the world. And, you know, I'm not bragging about that. I'm just very, very fortunate and very lucky to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And soon you'll have a little boy out there keeping you company some of the time as well. He gets a bit bigger.
We were out on the trail this morning. Yeah, we were out hiking this morning on the Black Canyon Trail down here. He loves to go hiking, and he'll run on the trails, and he's like, you know, yesterday he's like, oh, it's so rocky, and then he just like charges over the rocks, and he's like, I'm running like daddy, and you know, it's those moments that actually are awesome and mean the most to me.
Yeah. And it's nice to hear as well that, you know, that from you going hiking at a young age with your parents, you know, how that kind of made you fall in love with the trails and that sort of thing. So it's really nice to hear that, you know, by doing that with our kids, we're instilling these things in them that might bring them this happiness and this joy later on in their life. It's nice. Okay, I'm going to ask you a little bit more in detail about your training now, so how you prepare. So let's say you were sort of 3 or 4 weeks out from a key 50k race, sort of before you started to taper down. What would a typical week look like for you then, you know, sort of at your peak training weeks? How would they look?
Yeah, I would say, so I'm going to be doing heavy mileage, you know, during that period. That's going to be my highest mileage weeks, about 3 to 4 weeks out. So I've been getting up to around 150 miles a week during those periods of time. And then depending on the race, if it's a very vert-filled race, like a mountain race, I'm going to be doing a lot of vert during those weeks as well. You know, maybe close to 30,000 feet with 150 miles or something like that during those periods, anywhere from 120 to 150, depending on the time of the year. I like to, you know, my training, I like to build upon each training block. So at the beginning of the year, my mileage will be a little bit lower. And then during my peak races, which are usually summertime, is when I'm going to be doing the high mileage leading into those big races, just to get super fit and to get strong, leading into a big 100-miler or something like that. And so, yeah, those are going to be my peak weeks. I also, another thing I really like to do during that period is I like to throw a race in. You know, it's a harder effort. So say I'm getting ready for 100K, I'd usually throw in a 50K about 3 to 4 weeks out. And I've seen that usually if I throw in a race 3 to 4 weeks out, I'm always prepared for the bigger race coming up. It helps me get into that race mindset, to work out my nutrition, my pack, everything, and make sure I'm ready to go. And just very tuned up. I'm not going to go hard in that race, though. I'm going to go an easy to moderate pace, usually picking more of a low-key type race that I don't have to go super hard in, and something that I can just go and have fun and get a good long training run in. And so it'll be more like a race simulation for the bigger race.
Like a dress rehearsal.
But I'm also, yeah.
Like a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also like throwing in, yeah, for sure. I'm also throwing in, like, I'm still doing speed during those periods of time. I mean, I'm always doing speed. I really think it's important to keep up that speed and just that running economy, because honestly, the more efficient you are, the better you're going to be in any distance. And so I'm always working on my running economy through speed, you know, tempo runs and pickups and hill repeats and different things like that. And so those 2 weeks they're tough. You know, those are the weeks that I'm sleeping a lot, you know, and I'm coming home every day and I'm just like, I am so tired, but I'm breaking myself down during those weeks. So then once I hit the taper, I can build myself back up, and then I get even stronger, and then I'm ready to race the best that I can on race day.
Yeah, great. And do you do any non-running related training? So any resistance training, any cross training, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so 2 to 3 times a week, I'll do some resistance training. Usually one day will be some weightlifting, just different exercises that I've seen work for me over the years. And then I also do one day of plyometrics that I'll actually throw in, just some stuff that's really just race specific and focused on producing that power and that speed again. And then one other day will be just straight core, working on my abdominal muscles, my back muscles, my balancing muscles and hips, and just really keeping myself completely balanced. I'm a professional athlete. I take it very seriously. And so I'm not just running, I understand that there's other things that I can do to make me the best athlete that I can be. And so I do those things, 2 to 3 times a week. I'll put in those resistance. And then I also do the bike a little bit. I will do some cycling on the roads, but also on some gravel roads. I have a gravel bike. And so after a big race I'll usually put the cycling in just to maintain the fitness, but not have the pounding of running. So my body can recover, but I can still maintain that aerobic fitness leading into my next training block. And so that's when I'll implement the bike is after races, or during the off season is when I'll do a lot of biking as well.
That's interesting. And other than sort of after a big race, is there anything in particular that you do to ensure that you recover well?
Yeah, I'd say, with recovery, eating a lot is the biggest thing with recovery. Is, you burn so much during a race that after a race, eat as much as you want, eat anything, like anything that sounds good. Your body's telling you that you probably need that, so if it's a brownie or a cookie or whatever, like, don't be afraid to eat that stuff, because your body probably needs what that cookie or that brownie has in it. So I just eat a ton. I'm always eating. I'm eating all the time. I mean, I eat probably more than any athlete out there, and I'm one of the skinniest athletes out there. But it's just because I'm burning so much with those heavy mile weeks, and so I'll eat a lot and I'll hydrate a lot after races, and then try to sleep as much as I can. It's a little harder with a 2-year-old son, but I do the best that I can. And, I just think sleep, eating, and drinking is the best thing you can do after a race.
Yeah. And how do you, obviously you mentioned before that you're kind of grinding your training on the track, and your speed work that you've been, you consistently keep in your training. But when you're running an ultra, and it's obviously towards the end, you've been on your feet for a long time, how do you ensure that you're running with good form once the fatigue starts to set in and you're feeling tired?
Well, a lot of that happens beforehand, to be honest with you. Like, that's why I do the core work and I do the strength training, is because that allows me to be able to be strong at the end of races and still maintain my form. Because I'm balanced, my hip flexors are strong, my abdominal muscles are strong, my back muscles are strong. And so I'm able to stay erect, and not lean over, like a lot of people do at the end of ultras. And then, but I do focus on it a little bit. I know that if I want to finish strong, I need proper form. And so I will just do some checks every now and then and be like, okay, is your form proper? Are you doing exactly what you should be doing? Are you running different than you were at the beginning? And if I am, I'll try to fix that. But a lot of the time I don't have to fix it, because I have done the work beforehand to prepare me to be able to finish strong at the end of races.
Yeah. And you're self-coached, you write your own training plans, is that right? Or
no, yeah. So I work with David Roche. I don't know if you've heard of David, but he's a great trail coach. And so He gives me a lot of flexibility and a lot of freedom to be able to do what I need to do as well. So we kind of work together hand in hand. It's a very, very good relationship that we have, to where he'll give me workouts and I do his workouts, but I also do a little bit of what I need to do as well. And it works really well together because we both have a great amount of knowledge as we both are coaches, and we're able to just mix both of our minds together and come out with a good, solution for what I need to be doing as an athlete.
Yeah,
but David's an amazing coach.
Yeah, because it's no easy task, is it? You know, building a training schedule for these big races.
No, and then we're always learning. You know, we're always learning, and sometimes we need bad workouts or bad races to learn. But we become better because of them, and it's just a learning process throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on to race day and thinking about on the day itself, are there any specific things that you like to do to help you execute, you know, your race in the best way for you?
The biggest thing is not think too much, actually. So I think getting my head out of the picture is the biggest thing. I have seen that when I don't think a lot, when I'm just go into that race fully prepared, I have everything set out beforehand, and I've gotten everything like completely set aside and done, you know, a week or even more before. That's when I do the best. You know, when you're trying to like just do everything the days before the race, it's not a good situation to be in. You should already have prepared yourself beforehand to have everything ready to go. Your pack, your nutrition, your training should all be set. So, you know, the days before the race, all you need to do is do a little shakeout run and just relax and enjoy, you know, the time there, you know, enjoy your family. And so that's what I've come to learn this. Actually, we talked about earlier things that I've learned. This is one of the biggest things that I've learned, and why I've become more consistent with my racing as well. Like I've had less bad races because of this, because I'm prepared beforehand. And so getting my head out of the picture is the biggest thing. You know, I like to eat a good breakfast before a race. If it's a morning race, I'll usually wake up 2 hours before and get a nice solid breakfast in of some good carbohydrates. I always like to take a shower before the race because it wakes me up and I just feel fresh and ready to go on race day. And yeah, other than that, just get that starting line, you know, a few minutes before the race starts, and then go have fun and run the best that I can.
Yeah. And thinking about the mental side of ultra running, are there any particular strategies that you find help you during a race?
I would say just to enjoy it, you know, is my biggest thing. Is I like to, you know, at the beginning of my career, I would just run as hard as I could and wouldn't pay attention to all the beauty that was around me. You know, I would just run through the aid stations and not thank people or whatever, and just like be so focused that I was just kind of in this trance of like, and really not enjoying the whole process of the race. But lately I've come to enjoy it a lot more. You know, when I go through an aid station, I say thank you to the people and try to meet somebody new, or, you know, and I enjoy the mountains around me and enjoy the views and different things like that. And it's just been incredible, you know. And a lot of the time when I'm running, I'm thinking about how grateful I am, and, you know, and how lucky I am. And as I've come to just have those thoughts coming through my head, it's a lot more positivity, you know, flowing into my body. And I feel less pain because of it, you know. And when you're grateful, you kind of feel less pain, and you can't really think of everything else around you. And it's been an incredible change of mind, you know, like my mindset has completely changed. Even from, you know, 6 months ago, I've just completely changed my mindset, and it's just been an incredible change in how I look at things now.
Yeah, and I think there's like scientific proof that I think when you smile, the pain goes. So people say that, you know, when it starts to hurt, make a real conscious effort to smile at people, because it kind of tricks your brain into, it can't be hurting that much, they're smiling.
Yeah. No, that's true. And you know, I've learned from other ultra runners about this too. Like you look at Courtney DeWalter, she's actually a hero of mine, or I really look up to her as an athlete. She's such an incredible person. And that's one thing that I've seen is I've watched race videos, I've seen her in races. She's always like, she's very laser focused and she's focused on winning the race, but she also takes time to smile and to enjoy it. And she always says, you know, the reason I'm doing this is because I just love to run. Yeah. And really that's the root of it all is we're doing this because we love it, you know, and I lost that for a long time. I was focusing a lot on fame and money and different things like that, which is kind of silly to do because we don't make a lot of money as ultra runners, and the fame is very low compared to most other athletes. But you get trapped in what the media and the world wants you to think. But the root of it all is I love to run. You know, I'm a soul runner, and I just love being out there. And so as I've been able to get that, you know, through Courtney and through my own thoughts and experiences, like I've become such a better person and a better runner because I love to run, and that is the truth.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's sometimes we get so busy working hard with our heads down in all parts of life, and sometimes just forget to look up at the view, don't we?
Yeah.
Can you give us a quick overview of what you like to do with nutrition and hydration during a race?
Yeah, so I work with a company called Unived. I've been working with them for almost 3 years now. They're an amazing company. A lot of their products are vegan based, and so all their products are vegan based. They're plant-based products, and I've worked with them in co-developing my own product through them. I have my own drink mix and my own gel that I've helped, you know, through certain things that I've asked them to do, and we've developed this incredible product. And so lately that's what I've been using. The gel has 190 calories in it, and the drink mix has the same. It has 190 calories in it. So if you bring both of them together, they both have 45 grams of carbohydrates. And so as you use both of them, if you were able to do one gel and one drink mix in an hour, you're getting 90 grams of carbohydrates through the 2 channels that your body uses to absorb carbohydrates. So you're absorbing the max amount of carbohydrates your body can actually take in 1 hour. And as we've worked together to develop these products, I've found exactly what works, where it doesn't hurt my stomach. It doesn't give me any issues at all. So now I'm able to do 1 gel an hour and 1 drink mix an hour and get that 90 grams of carbohydrates, which is incredible. It's been a game changer. And it's packed with electrolytes and other things that you also need for your running. And as I've used these products, it's just been the perfect nutrition. I really don't need to eat anything else, and I'm able to keep my energy high and use the energy stores that I need. And so it's been a work in progress. You know, I've tested them throughout certain races, and in the beginning, some of the products didn't work properly, and I ran into some issues. But now we have it down, and it's just been an awesome experience to work with a company like that who really cares about me, and we've been able to get this product completely to where it needs to be.
Yeah, that must be such a relief as well, you know, as an ultra runner.
Oh, yeah.
Because to have that, think, right, that's sorted now, I'm going to worry about that anymore. I know what works, and you know, I can imagine that must be a big deal. And what about your kit? Any things that you really couldn't be without? Any bits of your gear that you rely on completely?
I mean, I am American, so I love using handhelds. You know, I'm not a big pack person. I I'll wear packs if I have to, especially in Europe, you know, where there's required gear. In America, we really don't have required gear. And so, but I love my Nathan products. I'm sponsored by Nathan, and I'm working with them for another few years now. I just re-signed with them, and they've been an incredible brand to work with. And honestly, the products that they have developed are just, they fit me and they work perfectly for what I need. And so I like to use their soft flask handhelds, their 14-ounce or 18-ounce handhelds, and those work perfectly. I can put my drink mix in each one, and you know, have 2 hours worth of fuel that I need, plus a couple gels. And then for European races, or when I need to use a pack, I like to use the Vapor Zac. It's a lightweight pack, an incredible pack that Nathan has built. And so I love using the Nathan products. And then other than that, I mean, I'm pretty simple. I mean, I like to go as minimal as possible, to be honest with you. I am sponsored by Altra, and I love the Ultra running shoes. I've been completely healthy since I started working with Altra, which has been awesome because I've never been completely healthy in my career. But I feel like the shoes have really helped me to just get my proper form down, and therefore have proper biomechanics, and just keep me healthy throughout my whole entire running. You know, especially how many miles I do, it's really hard to stay completely healthy, but I have been able to in ultras. And so currently I've been wearing the Ultra Duo, which I really love, the Ultra Superior, the King MT, and then the Olympus. All those shoes from Ultra are just awesome, and that's kind of my lineup of training shoes that I'll use.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, so as we look to kind of wrap up, I'm going to ask you a few final questions. Firstly, what do you think are 3 characteristics that are helpful to be successful in ultra running?
Ooh, patience, I would say. If I were to pick, you know, one of the 3 words, patience. Ultra running, you need to be patient. You need to be patient in your training. You need to be patient in your racing. You just need to be patient because it's the day-to-day, you know, training. It's the consistency day after day after day that's going to make you a better ultra runner. And in racing, you need to be patient because you're going to have spells during the race when you just feel terrible, but be patient. Get through those spells, and then after, I promise you, you'll have an up. You know, like ultra running is just full of ups and downs throughout the entire race. I'd say the second thing is you just need to be motivated. Like I've talked about earlier, you need to find things and go after them. Don't do things because other people want you to do them or because it's the thing to do. Find things that truly inspire you and motivate you. And as you do that, you're gonna enjoy the process and experience. And I'd say the third thing is you need to work hard. I mean, it's tough. You know, it's tough, and you need to be just strong and work hard and be tough, because honestly it's not an easy thing, and the training is not easy, but it's worth it. You know, nothing in life that is worth it is going to come easy, and you need to realize that you know, it's just how it is. Like if you really want to win races or you want to finish, you know, a certain race, you're going to have put a lot of work in, and you're going to have to work your butt off, because it's just how it is. And that's anything in life. If you want to be a good mom or a good dad, you got to work at it. You know, your relationship with your partner, you need to work at it. You know, we all need to work hard, and as we work hard, we will see results.
Yeah, and enjoy the results more if you've really put in that effort to get them, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you could give your younger self one piece of running advice, what would it be?
Ooh.
And would you have listened?
I probably wouldn't have listened, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm a little stubborn sometimes. My wife says that. No, I'm just kidding. My wife's awesome. I love my wife, but I am stubborn. I am stubborn. When I get something in my mind, there's no stopping me, to be honest with you. I've become better as I've gotten older, but I would say the one thing is just continue to love running. Like I've talked about earlier, don't get trapped in all of the hoopla of this world. You know, the world tries to tell you who you should be and tells you all of these things, that you need to chase money or you need to chase fame and glory and all these things. But honestly, none of that is worth anything. And it's just going to cause trouble and problems in your life. And so just do it for the love of it, you know, and if I could tell myself, just keep enjoying running and do it because you love it. Don't do it for anything else, but just because you love it.
Yeah, that's good advice. And if any of our audience are watching who are yet to enter an ultra and they're just thinking about starting, perhaps entering their first, what would be a piece of advice that you'd give them?
Just go and do it. I mean, that's the biggest thing is with me, you know, when I first signed up for that 50K at Speedgoat, you know, I had no clue what I was getting myself into, you know, and I was a little scared at first. I was like, man, can I really run 50 kilometers in the mountains? Like, I don't know if that's even possible. But I just did it. You know, I kind of just threw all those thoughts out of my head and said, you know, just go do it and see how it is, you know, and don't be scared.
Yeah, good advice. For any of our audience who are already established ultra runners and they're keen to take it to the next level, either to be more competitive or, you know, perhaps try a longer distance, what would be your advice that you would give them?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is I don't know. That's a hard question because most time I'm pretty young, and so I'm not very used to. I'd say someone like Killian would probably have a lot better advice than me. But I would say the biggest thing is find something that inspires you. You know, go out and do something new or something that inspires you, and don't I guess don't be afraid to just go and tackle something new, because like if it's a 50K or 100K, say you're a 50K runner and you're wanting to run 100K, you never know if you're gonna be good at 100K unless you do it. You know, like I never knew that I would be a good 50-mile runner until I jumped in and did it. I never knew that I wouldn't like UTMB until I did it. And so I think just realizing that, you know, like you're not going to know if you like that distance or like that experience until you go and just do it and jump straight head first in and do your best to do the best you can in that race.
And do you think it's it's important for people that are interested in going to the next level that you perhaps think about enlisting the help of a coach?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Like that's why I have a coach. You know, I don't need a coach. I have plenty of degrees in exercise science and physiology, and I understand the human body really well. I understand how to coach. You know, I coach myself. You know, I coach many athletes and have found success in you know, helping my athletes achieve their goals and their performances. But I have a coach because a coach sees a different perspective than you can see a lot of the time, and also accountability. Like it's awesome just to have accountability with a coach and just have that extra voice, you know, telling you to get out there and do things. And so, yeah, I think a coach is very, very important. But, you know, make sure that you pick a good coach. You know, don't just pick a coach because they're cheaper or whatever it is. You know, find a coach that really works well with you and that you both can have that I guess, that a good relationship. Like, it's important to have a coach that you have a relationship with, because if it's just some random person that you decided to coach with, like, you're probably not going to listen to them, and you're just going to be wasting your money.
Yeah. Chemistry's got to be right. It's like any other relationship.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very grateful for my coach, and I think it's important to have a coach. I think it's definitely necessary.
Oh, well, that just about brings us to the end, I think. Thanks ever so much, Hayden. It was really, really interesting, Hayden. And yeah, I can see only 28, so much potential. I'm excited to see, you know, what's going to come. I was watching a little VT earlier on YouTube, and you said some on my, I think it's when you were in China, on my best day, I'm hard to beat. And I thought, you know, that that I really, you know, that confidence and that positive mental attitude is, yeah, it's good. It's really inspiring.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for joining us and for sparing us some time. We know you're really busy with your little boy. Everyone go and check out Hayden online. We'll put the links, you know, beneath the video so you can follow and watch what I'm sure will be a incredible 2020 season. Thanks very much for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.